all relax. Completely professional.
Right. Are we live?
You are live.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Apologies, we're running a bit late. We had a bit of a technical glitch, to put it mildly, and we've still got the joys of rapid outside. Right. This is a meeting of the Standing Orders Working Party. We have 4 councillors present, and we've asked Jill, the town clerk, to speak to us today about our proposals and give us some constructive criticism about them. Right, so that's who we are. Let me just run through the agenda. We have an apology from Councillor Green. Do we have any declarations of disclosable, not even disposable, disclosable pecuniary interest? Yes, no? Okay. Minutes of the Standing Orders Working Group, they were circulated courtesy of Martin. Are they accepted?
Yes.
Thank you. Right.
With the amendments proposed by
Amendments proposed by...
Okay, I'm happy with that. I assume they're in there, are they not?
Are they? Oh, right, okay. I'll double. Okay, we need to double check. Public participation. I don't see anybody apart from Christina. Technically, I believe you're not public participation. I mean, Jill. I mean, you're not technically. You're not public participation. Thank you. Okay. Christina, obviously, just as we've done before, if there's something particularly important that you'd like to raise, you'll do that. Thank you very much. Okay, right. The objective today really was to talk about how we were going to take things forward, and why have I printed off the wrong one?
That's the agenda.
That's the agenda.
That's the minutes from the last meeting.
Right, okay.
And that's your...
And that's the standing orders, right. Okay, folks. I think the best thing, Jill, is we sent you the version 6 of the standing orders. And I think as far as standing orders document is concerned, we have completed. But then, of course, there's a whole stack of questions for you.
Yes.
Do you want to take us through, first of all, what your views are about this document and whether it is basically feasible or not, and then talk through the detail?
Yes, that's absolutely fine. Thank you, Chair. So you did send me a few questions.
Yes.
So I've looked at the questions, and basically, I think with the standing orders, you were asking about financial regulations.
Yes.
If the provision, it is best practice, and I think, yes, they should be included in the standing orders, is my view.
Yes.
And so I think you said as far as the financial bits are concerned, we could leave them in the standing orders, put them in the financial regulations or admit, but I think they should be, the part of the financial regulations that are in the standing orders, I think should remain in the standing orders. I think that's definitely.
Thank you. Hang on a second, let's just check. Is everyone content with keeping them as is? Nick, you discovered this slight anomaly that...
I mean, the answer, they don't have to be.
No, they don't have to be.
It is considered now considered good practice.
Yeah.
I think it is good practice.
Yes.
I thought this is the top level of the council's constitution, if I can call it that.
Yeah.
And I think they are important, and I think they I mean, I can see no reason why they shouldn't go in, let's put it that way.
Well, can I?
But you
I mean, just if there are revisions to the financial amounts stated in the financial regulations, the standing orders would then need to come back to full council.
Well, we changed that, didn't we? I thought that the specific reference was to the legislation and no longer individual amounts.
Ah, perfect.
Yeah.
That we took the old amounts out, and we relied on the legislation. Nick, you've probably got it to hand. Yeah, right. I'll toggle straight through. But we did change it. Just a minute, sorry, I've got to toggle through to this. And it was section 9, I think.
It was, yes.
Yeah.
Can I make it clear? We're only putting in the first 3 financial regulations there, because the last two were not in the NAL, are not in the NAL
No.
code.
No.
And I don't think we need them anyway, because they refer to vast sums of money,
Yeah.
contract for £4
And-
million and so on.
Yeah.
So we're only going to put in 3 paragraphs, 911, 912, 913, 913.
And there, the first one is not in bold. 911 is not currently in bold.
Correct.
Correct. But 912 and 913 are in bold, and these are using the NUTS understanding of the legislation.
Correct.
Martin, for your information, we've said, we change it now, it says, where the value of a contract is likely to exceed the threshold specified by the Office of Government Commerce from time to time, the Council must consider whether the public contract regulations, blah, 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 apply to the contract. So
Good.
therefore we haven't put any sums in, we took them out.
Good.
Yeah. And I see that,
There's something that's in 1.13, isn't
yes, a public contract regulated public contract estimated around 25,000, but less than the relevant threshold. Okay.
Yes.
So,
I mean, I suggest that you keep that in.
Yes,
because
I
that
think
is,
we should,
yeah,
yeah.
legislation.
now, I have a note in red here which says NUTS procurement guidance contains further details. Do we still want to retain that? And 912. And there's also,
I think it's a helpful note, isn't it?
just change it to standard black.
Yes, yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Right, let me just change that.
Or yes, but not bold.
But not bold, so we take bold off, and then I change the colour to black. Right? Okay, thank you. Why do I keep calling you Karen? My apologies.
No problem, no problem. So then moving on, because I didn't want to
Right, are we
talk about-
finished on financial?
Yeah, sorry, I was just going through your
No, that's okay,
questions,
but
yeah.
we're finished on financial regulation, and we're all content that it stays in section 9. We've got 911 is ordinary, 912 and 913 are bold,
Yes.
and they refer to the legislation which addresses Martin's concern of having to change things all the time.
Yes.
Right. Now, are we going to take 914 out? Because 914 is these are the sums.
We're not including 914 or 915.
Right. So we do need both of those.
Yeah.
Correct.
Right, that's fine. I'll delete them. Fine, that's deleted. I better say this is version 6, isn't I? No, this is version 7.
Version
You need to go to the
7,
next
I
one.
think.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, this is getting complicated. It's not clean either, so we'll have to take the word
It's
clean
not
off.
clean copy, no.
No. I didn't want to use words like this in the council chambers. Right. And then 92 is as stands, and 922 is legislation.
Yes.
Or next interpretation thereof.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you. Okay, Christine.
No problem.
Look, why don't you have a sign across your forehead? I am Jill. Jill, what's the next?
Yes, so skipping the next two questions, because I'll come on to that, I think, in a moment, about changes and how feasible. So when you say that, what does NAP provide STC for legislation updates?
Yeah.
How can we ensure our standing orders meet them? So CALC, because you are subscribed to CALC and NAP,
Yes,
the updates are shared with me via that subscription.
by both Calc and NAP.
Yes, yes. And any councillor has access to CALC and NAP, so you can go on
Oh.
to the legal topic notes section,
Yeah.
That's
which
good.
is so
That's
so
good.
those will be shared through
Right,
that
and
subscription.
that's the way, because I think someone was, I think Martin, it was you concerned about how do you, no, it was
Bob Scruton.
Bob Scruton was concerned about.
Is
Yeah.
concerned because we're not following the NAL code, how
Yeah.
we get updated. Provided we keep an eye on how our
Exactly.
calculator and NAL code,
Yeah.
then really I don't think there's a problem.
No.
So-
And Calc do send us the updates. You know, we get the Calc news. They're very, very good at sharing any legislation updates, so we do get informed. And what I would say as well on that is the Society of Local Council Clerks, which I am proposing the Sandwich Town Council join. It's a professional subscription for not only me as the clerk, but also for the council. And that's another very good way of keeping informed and legislation, and they give out updates as well.
Yeah.
So I think
that's a very good idea. I would definitely support that. And Christine was certainly.
Public participation is currently invisible, but is noted.
So where do we need to take that for agreement of SLCC, yeah?
Yes,
Is
so
that
Society
something-
of Local Council Clerks,
Yeah.
and that will be part of a report that I'll do for council.
You'll do that in the
Yeah.
okay, and that will make sure.
And there is a cost to it. presumably.
Yes, there is, yes.
Okay. Nice.
Just bear with me, Ian. So, sorry, the previous point which you said was important to get, this was about all councils having access to Calc now websites and
Therefore,
the content,
Yes.
therefore,
You need to get a password.
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay, but you will be able to supply that to
therefore
us.
are able to access all related information and changes.
Yes,
Mm.
and I have shared all the passwords, because I know, hopefully, council, you've now got access to Calc.
I did
Yes.
for a few hours.
Oh, okay.
I've been given a second try by.
Okay.
But if you could circulate the,
Yeah.
the
I
requisite password.
have done, but I'm happy to do it again for you all.
I don't recall seeing them.
Can you do it again, please?
Of course I can.
But then don't forget, I was, I think, the last to get an iPad because the really problems weren't there. Okay, so we're content on that, thank you.
Okay.
Jill.
That's right. So, then when we talk about, the views of the RFO as proper officer, so I think there is some confusion. So the town clerk is the proper officer,
Yes.
the RFO is the responsible financial officer, so the proper officer is the town clerk. I know some people get hung up on but that's the
But
term.
in some councils, they're both, it's the same
Yes.
person.
Yes, exactly. So at Westgate and Sea, it is the same person. Bigger councils like Sandwich, it's very often split.
Okay. Does the RFO become the proper officer in your absence?
Not necessarily, because they aren't always the person that is the person that would be prepared to clerk meetings and step into that role. So my recommendation would be, going forward, is especially if there are going to be the number of meetings that there are currently, there will potentially be a need for an assistant clerk going forward.
Right.
But that's obviously comes through the restructure, so that's not something particularly
No.
for you to take here, but that is definitely something that is needed, in my opinion, if the number of meetings are going to continue in the numbers that we're doing.
Who knows? I suspect they'll
Yeah.
tail off as we get through a big
Yeah.
chunk of work.
Yeah.
Does this mean, though, that under no circumstances the RFO is a responsible officer?
So responsible financial
Right.
officer.
Yeah, it's so no
You mean
longer a proper officer.
proper
No,
officer.
no. So
No.
they're not.
Okay, so we need to be very clear,
Yeah.
because I think I raised the question in this document
Mhm.
somewhere
Mhm.
about, where was it?
Can I just check with you, Jill? Was that,
Yes.
did you say assistant town clerk, or was it another title you mentioned?
Assistant.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, somebody to deputise in the absence of.
Yeah.
Righto, but that obviously,
Because the responsible financial officer, in terms of the title, the finances is their responsibility. The proper officer, the town clerk, governance is their prime responsibility, and obviously the management of the buildings, the overseeing of the staff,
yes,
all that.
right.
Can I just say, the NELC model code has got a paragraph saying a proper officer shall be either one of the clerk or two other staff member is nominated by the council to undertake the work of the proper officer when the proper officer is absent.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
Now, I
Yeah.
don't know whether have we got that in, Hold on.
No, we
I
haven't.
think it would be worth.
Yes, I
So-
do.
I think it would be worth putting that in.
Where do you
Yeah,
think it should?
Standing order 15A in the model,
Yes.
model code.
Yes.
Not quite sure where that fits in our.
Well, we'll have to find.
I've got
Okay,
it here.
well,
That degree should go in, and we can
I
find a
think it
place for
should.
it later.
Right. Okay. Did you get a note of?
There you go, it's there.
Where should it be?
So,
70. Yes,
so
that's.
this is the Westgate on Sea
Yes.
standing orders.
Right.
And I do find them very easy to follow, and it makes sense. And I know it's the NAP template, and not everybody likes the NAP template. But for me, my personal opinion, it flows. It's a document that flows.
I found it 2.3. 2.31 says, proper officers of the town clerk, the RFO is appointed by the council, the RFO is a statutory role. Okay, so I've got to add a new paragraph then, basically, which clarifies. Yeah.
Yes.
Could you please read it out to me, Nick, and I'll just type it as is.
Mm.
Yeah.
So you want me to read out the NELC one?
Oh, I've got it here, okay.
Got it there.
All right, I'll just take, can I get a copy of this?
You can, yes, of course.
Okay, I'll just say use NALC 17A.
Yes.
15A.
We've got,
This is because this is the Westgate on Sea actual
Yes.
copy of the standing orders. So I'm using this because this is what I'm used to.
Because
And
you
I like.
use that, we can understand it.
okay, so
No,
which one am I using? Am I using the NALC?
It's 15A and a NELC standing order.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to have belt and braces, and that's going to be NALC 15A, Westgate 17A, right?
I'll know where to find it.
Yeah, because I'll need to put it in here.
Yeah.
Right, thank you.
Can I just ask for clarification? In 232 in our current draft,
Yeah.
is that still what we want to do?
In the event of a short-term
We
absence.
don't need that now because of this new.
233.
I remember we discussed whether it was a short-term absence or a long-term absence.
Right. In the event of a short-term absence, the chair or vice chair shall nominate another member of staff, normally the RFO, to deputise for the town clerk. In the event of a long-term absence or resignation, interim town clerk shall be nominated by the council. So, if we're using the NALC/Westgate one, 233, Martin, you've correctly pointed out, is actually needs to be modified slightly.
Yeah.
So I suggest in the event of a short-term absence, the chair or vice chair, another member of staff, I'll just say another member of staff, and
to
delete
deputise.
normally the RFO.
Can I just ask, in terms of, is there a definition of what's short term and what's not? Because somebody will probably challenge that, knowing how things can sometimes unfold. Or are we going to leave it as flexible? I mean, it can be.
Well, when would you start looking for an interim? If you've got a known absence, I would suggest more than about 5 or 6 weeks, you'd start looking for an interim.
I think.
I mean, less than a month, you might find ways around it.
Yes.
Is that a pragmatic?
It's reasonable to me if we want to be that specific. We can leave it fluid, and then obviously then common sense in theory applies when it.
I think we should leave it fluid and
Yeah.
and
That's
hope that
All
common
right.
sense will
Just wanted to
prevail.
ask, make sure there wasn't a definition.
Thank you. Yes, no, we need that precision.
Yeah.
Righto. Okay, thank you, Jill.
Okay.
Next point. For you.
Yes. So I think where we say as well, standardising the notice required for council, committee, sub and working group agendas.
Yes, we wondered if that was the right way to do it.
So I think, at least 3 clear days is what the notice should be for every meeting. That is the recommendation. That is the
At least 3 clear days.
At least 3 clear days. I think,
Which includes a Saturday.
yes, it's a requirement.
It
Exactly.
is a legal
It's a
It is
legal
a legal
requirement
requirement.
and it includes Saturdays,
Yeah.
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Well, it's a legal requirement for council meetings.
Yes.
It is a legal requirement for committees.
Yes.
And
Yes.
for working
Yes.
parties.
Yes. That is what you should be working
Yes.
with. That is what is currently.
Agree.
So a really good example was the KCC resubmitted paper on the household waste recycling centres. It didn't arrive. And I thought it must have gone beyond their standing orders. So I went online, looked at their standing orders, 5 days. Brilliant.
Yeah.
I thought they've bust
Yes.
their own rules. Came to the meeting, it turned up a day or two before the meeting, well, it actually turned up the night before.
6 o'clock.
Yeah. They closed down the meeting for 10 minutes. They came back and they then referred to the 3 days as being the rule. So they'd gone away, even though their own standing orders were 5 days, they said they could deviate from that because the legal was 3 days. So in effect, 3 days is always the underpinning
Yeah.
legal requirement.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
But hang on a minute, if it wasn't issued until
No, they
less
fudged
than
it.
24
No, in my
No,
opinion,
don't go down that way.
yeah.
Come
In
on.
my opinion, they came up with an explanation that I couldn't quite understand.
Right, so we did ask a question specifically in Peter's notes. There was something we need to clarify. But we are in agreement that all meetings should have a minimum of 3 clear days.
Yes.
But you were making the point,
Yeah.
that ideally
Yeah.
we should try to have longer.
Yes.
What are your views about that?
I think in the wonderful world where you have enough resource and you have enough capacity, I think I agree that is something to aim for.
Yeah.
At the moment, that is not going to be possible.
And what I was striving to was exactly what you said, and I think in standing orders, which in theory will be here possibly at least for the next 3.5 years and beyond, it's an aspiration. So I think we should include it,
Yes.
but practical resource type issues come into play at the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Absolutely right.
And also the sheer number of meetings, that has to come into play as well.
Well, even this one's under pressure, isn't it? So if I have to get the documents to you by noon tomorrow,
Yes.
for us to hold this meeting.
Yeah.
And for weekly meetings, it's going to be impossible to do more than 3 days.
No, I accept that.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think where this is. I should have cross-referenced it, shouldn't it? I will.
The only thing I think it flagged up, and I don't know if Christina's better able at recalling the situation. So is there not a scenario where public participation is impacted by papers being published so close? When I say so close, the 3-day aspect, is there a possibility that public may have very limited, if sometimes maybe no time to play in their requests?
It has happened in the past where the cut-off for the public to submit requests has actually been after the agenda has been issued. That has happened. Not very recently, but there have been inconsistencies even fairly recently as to how much notice the public have to put in their request to speak.
Well, we
It is
covered
another
that.
issue, but our current standing orders say that you have to submit your request to speak before the agenda is published.
Yes.
But that appears to be abandoned, and we accept people as long as they tell us on the Friday before the Monday meeting. That's not what a standing order is.
No, the standing orders on our website is very clear.
It is. So,
So we need to be very clear
Yes.
in our standing orders the
I
time
mean-
by which people must give notice they want to speak,
Yes.
unless they can turn up and speak without giving any notice.
Which is something the council has to decide.
Yeah, which is
We have a
Yeah.
paragraph.
Because
Jill, I interrupted you, sorry.
some councils do allow the public just to turn up and tell the town clerk
They'd like to
before
see.
prior to the meeting, I would like to speak. And the town clerk then says yes, or if it's already full, they have to say no, there's no room for that speaker.
Yeah.
Jill.
So that's what happens at Westgate on Sea now. They changed the standing orders last year, removed the request where the residents have to send in an email talking about stating the subject they want to discuss and asking, requesting the permission. That was removed. So now what happens is the full council meeting, there are 5 potential slots because it's 15 minutes, 3 minutes per person. There is number 1 to 5 at the door as you come into the chamber. First come, first served. First resident who wants to speak, number 1. So they don't have to give any prior warning of what they want to speak about. They don't have to, but equally the council do not have to respond to that
To the
subject
specific.
on the evening. So if it's something that can be easily addressed it might be that councillor or the clerk would respond. But if it's something that clearly needs to be taken away, then that's
Okay.
obviously incorporated into the minutes.
Yeah.
Sorry,
So we
Malcolm,
had,
did you
yes,
want-
go on.
Well, yes, because I argued earlier that the clerk and the chair should have the right, the discretion, let's say, whether to allow someone to speak or not.
So,
I don't know. I mean, if it works in Westgate, we can try it here.
Okay, Emmett, then.
So just two issues it flags up for me. One is if it is first come first served, then that puts at risk residents wanting to come to the meeting and actually get an opportunity to speak. So that's the first thing. Secondly, at the moment we do ask them to email in, but we as councillors do not know what they're going to talk about.
No.
I personally would much prefer to know what the subject matter is beforehand, so as, like for example, the very complicated discussion around the Woodnessborough Road closures, I personally did not feel informed enough
Correct.
to really help the residents.
Yes.
I'd much prefer being in a position where it's on my back
Yes.
to do some prior thought about something. You won't get a full, you won't get a script of what we're
No.
going to say,
No.
but at least if you've got the subject matter, you can think, actually, maybe I should just go off and find out.
Okay, so, right, can I just come out? Nick, you wanted to say something as well, so.
I was going to say that personally, I favour any person being allowed to come to the meeting, say I want to speak and speak.
Yeah.
I don't think that's real public participation.
Yeah.
But if the feeling of the council is they require some form of notice, I'll go along with that. If that's what the council.
Okay,
So
let me try to come back. We actually jumped from one subject to
We did.
the second subject. The first subject is we are in agreement that all meetings require 3 clear days notice.
Yeah.
In an ideal world, we would give more notice, but that is dependent upon resources and other factors.
Yeah.
Provided we've met the 3 days, including a Saturday, and we're all clear about that,
Yeah.
we've got the note of that.
And all I asked though, Ian, was to reflect in the standing orders that idea, to have a statement that says, we should try and give more, if we just leave it as the 3 days,
No,
everybody
okay, if
will
you
end
could
up-
give me a note of that, I'm trying to find the exact place to put it in.
Yes, that's fine.
Then we looked at public involvement in meetings, and we said the present 513, at the chair's discretion, individual members of the public shall be provided with the opportunity to speak not more than 5 minutes, which is more than our own, on a subject which is relevant to the business of the council as determined by the chair of the meeting, subject to request being made to the clerk of that meeting to speak, including the subject of the question or statement, up to email by close of business on the previous day or ahead of the published start time of the meeting. Or the alternative is that people could just turn up.
Yeah.
So we have to ask the council then.
There's a question there to ask.
Okay, let me just put this in. Or disclose at start of the meeting, yes? And this would be STC to decide, yes?
Yeah.
Yes.
What I would say is, I think you're in danger of overcomplicating matters, and I think you should keep it simple.
Yeah.
I don't like the idea of somebody, if you're asking for prior notice, I don't like the idea of saying, the day before or the day of the meeting, because if, practicalities mean that I'm not at the laptop for whatever reason, I've got meetings and things of the day. So I think you've either got to go with,
I understand that.
Yeah.
The difficulty is that whilst we may feel that, we have a council of 16 persons who may not agree.
I'm just giving my opinion. I'm just giving
Okay,
my
fine.
opinion, yeah,
That's-
sorry. But also equally, the 5 minutes, I think that would be, again, we know what happened at the last STC meeting. We don't want to be sat here till 10:30 at night,
No.
and the more opportunity, if you give everybody 5 minutes and you have 5 people, that's a heck of a chunk out of that meeting time that you're allowing the people to and I think.
But as a frequent speaker, and I can deliver a machine gun delivery because you've seen it in action.
Yes.
If I'm struggling with 3 minutes, and I'm usually just over the 3 minutes, somebody who's not as used to public speaking as I am is going to, I think, struggles with the 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And then we have, of course, somebody going over and not, we don't have a proper cut-off system either. And therefore, I think we felt the 5 minutes was more appropriate. We can say up to, but, and then not everybody will need 5 minutes, but yes, last council meeting was not good in that respect from at least 2 speakers.
The issue we have to an extent isn't about public participation, it's about actually we're taking too much business into the agenda, so there is
And not
no
being flexible on the agenda.
no
So being
fighting
able to-
chance to deliver it within the 2-hour time slot.
Ron, this is true.
My view is, having spoken a number of times to the council before I was a councillor, you can say very little in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
You cannot get a sensible argument across. It's only 400 and something words 3 minutes is, and it's very, very difficult. We don't often get 5 people to speak at the other end.
I was going to say then, if you change it, if it's 5 minutes, you change it to limit it to 3 people, because then you're not going to go beyond your 15 minutes. I think that you've got to do one or the other, because I think otherwise, you know, what you think is 5 minutes per person.
By the time we come up, and
if you allow 5, and then the time, like you said, the time that they, you know, you're talking at least 30 minutes into that meeting time,
which is a
public
quarter of the meeting, which is a little bit skewed, but why compromise? If we might just throw numbers around.
Why would say shabby compromise?
I was going to come on to the issue.
Why not go for 4?
4 minutes and 4 speakers or something. I do think we should make it clear
One person, sorry,
that we welcome written contributions to back up a speaker and provide more details, so that if they do feel, I mean, the guy last time said he planned on 6 minutes, but so if they do feel that they need to supply more detail than they were able to during their speaking time, they have that option.
Could I suggest the 5 minutes? I think we got really behind that through a number of these meetings. So I think we stick with 5 minutes, particularly what you've said and you've said yourself. Why don't we go for 4 times 5? That's a 20-minute slot that we can allocate. So we are increasing the overall slot, but not.
I would go with 4 minutes per person and 20 minutes slot. The chair, we must ensure that the chair of the meeting and or the town clerk, after 4 minutes,
That's a challenge.
stop.
We do have a timer.
You do.
And apparently it was used before my time, but people found that rude. So it's very difficult. It's very difficult when you've got somebody who's very emotional about the subject they're speaking, and you're going to have an alarm going off saying, "I'm sorry, that's." So I think the practicalities are very different, which we've experienced. And what I would say is, if members are minded that they're going to increase the public speaking, that's for your decision. But then we will be decreasing the number of agenda items, and I'll be really firm on that. There will be some agenda items that councils won't get onto the agendas. You know, that's the way we're looking at it. So you know, I think there's a lot to be addressed. It's also about committees. You know, delegating some more work to committees so that the council doesn't have to do all the work that it's currently doing. So there's lots of conversations, I think, around this.
I think so. Can I just say, I've been champing at the bit. I find this kitchen timer one of the most ridiculous, rude things I've ever come across in this council, and it infuriates me.
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely. And why? And you do know that in the large room over there is a 3-light system on the top. You look at the top left. There's a 3-light system.
Okay.
What on earth is it going to prevent us to have a 3-light system, which is just basic, you know, keep it on green for 3 minutes, put it on amber for the 4th minute, and then at the end of the 4 minutes on red, and then you say, "I'm sorry, you've had your time." I just think it's unbelievably primitive.
Yeah. No,
and I will bang the table on that.
No, I don't support an egg timer sort of approach, because I do think, you know, it's equally it's tricky, because if you want to get through business on the agenda, you do have to be firm as the mayor or chair, and it's difficult. It is difficult.
Of course, but there is a standard approach used in the United States and in Britain.
It is.
You know, it's very common.
So just to go back, if we take a step back, what we said was we'd like to give people more time. I think I hear there's a common agreement that maybe 5 minutes is really the ideal in terms of giving people time to say what they need to say, particularly if they struggle to be brilliant at public speaking. We don't want to extend into the meeting time too much. We don't get 5 people at each meeting. So my view is 5 minutes. Nick, and I'm sorry to go against 4 minutes, but 5 for me sounds like people say, well, why 4 minutes? 5 minutes is just it's a number that people might recognise. We won't get 5 people each meeting, but we keep it to 20 minutes. So you could get 4 people speaking at the meeting. I've not been to the meeting. Okay, I've only been to half a dozen meetings. I've not had 4 turn up yet.
Well, at the end of the day, right. Well, looking at this, what I've done is I've said keep it at 5 minutes, but of course the councillors could overrule that. That's up to them. Secondly, I need to add a clause about we would encourage people to write their notes up or contributions, and I've often done that. And it makes your life a lot easier, doesn't it? If somebody gives you a piece of paper which says bang, 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 bang. The situation is that the 2 choices, we either get people to request to the clerk on the, I think we're talking about the day of the meeting, or disclose at the start of the meeting, and the council has to decide which one it wants to go for. We're saying no more than 20 minutes, except at the discretion of the chair. And also we're saying, I put it in there, we need a better, inverted commas, alarm system or warning system. And I've absolutely no problems with people drawn to their attention, right, you're out of time now, I'm very sorry.
Well, I don't see the two as being mutually exclusive, because if 2 people indicate before the meeting that they would like to speak, and then you get 2 people who turn up on the door, then that's also possible.
So I think from what you're saying then, you take away anybody's requirement to give any prior notice whatsoever, because I think you're in danger if you're having, or you can tell us the day before or the day of the meeting, also you can turn up on the evening, then to me there seems no point in having both systems in place. I think you go with one or the other. There's no confusion then. You make it very clear to residents. That's what we did at Westgate-on-Sea. There is no requirement to give any notice. You don't need to tell anyone what you're talking about. You can come up and you've got 5 minutes or whatever the time is that you.
Okay, well I think I've put it on 513 there. Can everyone see what I've put there? I need to get the actual wording right. But I've put it in.
Chair's discussion, individual minutes which should be provided with opportunities to
on this,
on the subject. That's okay.
Okay, so I need to do a bit of fettling up.
Yeah, so I think listening to what Jill has just said, is it any more than we'll get 5 minutes, it's for 20 minute slot, so welcome written contributions. I'm not sure that we're now saying that we necessarily need that, are we?
I think it's very useful. I mean, I've always found it very useful, especially with your predecessor before and before her, to give you the script.
Yeah, that is very useful. That is very
Good.
useful.
Okay.
Lots of people do, it's useful. You can't make it an actual requirement.
No, but we can encourage.
We should encourage people.
Yeah, welcoming is fine.
Yeah.
I think
All right?
Yes.
It is an important.
It's
aspect.
critical. It's absolutely critical. Right? Jill, we're back to you
Yes,
again.
thank you. So what are the plans to archive minutes of meetings and allow public access to those?
Yes, this
The
is
website.
This is Peter's particular concern. I think some of us also want to know, how do we get back to it? Because things disappear at the moment. I don't think I've got access to any papers and so on once we've had the meeting as a layperson.
Yes,
Yeah.
so they are on the website, and then they are, I think, taken down after a period because they don't have capacity. But once we get to a position where the website is improved, you can have all the archived, we've got a Westgate and C going back to sort of 2015 on the website, but equally we do have leave arch files in the office. If someone came in to me, for a resident or a councillor, said, Jill, I'd like to look at the minutes from 2017 to 2018. I can go in the back office where we've got the archive shelf, take off the file, because every lever arch file is a whole complete council year of minutes that are signed and approved.
Okay. Right, so
What was the question?
what are the plans to archive minutes of meetings and allow public access to them? Sorry, is on the document I circulated.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, the public are entitled to come into the
Yes.
council
Yes,
and inspect the minute book.
yes, yes,
So-
of
So
course.
they have to be, hard copies have to be
That's
really.
the answer to my
Absolutely.
question.
Absolutely.
But also, they will be put on the website.
Yes,
And they are.
They
yes.
are,
And that's the point,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
they weren't
If an,
last year, but they are now.
Yeah.
Yes,
Now,
they will now.
yes.
closely related to that, though, there's two other things. There's what are your views about the document overview that we circulated? Remember, I sent, and I missed the deadline, but I actually resent it to all councillors, which was document map.
Yes,
And
yes.
is that something that you would wish to adopt? And that secondly, what are the plans to track amendments to minutes and action lists? It's the whole thing about document control that we're very
Yes.
concerned about.
Yes. So when you talk about track amendments to minutes, so draft minutes, once they've been approved, if there are any amendments or they've been approved as are, those are the minutes. We don't keep anything that's draft. We don't say, oh, we've got, and
Yes,
equally,
versions.
I'm doing
Yeah.
minutes on these pages, they're shred. Once
Yes.
those minutes are approved, I don't keep any notes or any drafts of those minutes. The minutes and in the signed, format are the legal
That's the-
documents.
That's the end of the process,
That's the
and
end
that's
of the
what you
process.
can see.
Exactly, and that is what people
Yeah.
have access to, because
Yeah.
that is the signed off,
Yeah.
approved minutes.
Yeah.
And if there was any legal challenges, they would be the minutes that
The
would be
evidence.
used.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've worked for far too long with academics, clearly. How can we approve minutes when we don't know exactly the wording of amendments? Because we're not given the exact wording of amendments in meetings. And that's a very serious question. In a university, you'd never get away with that. Absolutely never.
So when you talk about meetings, when it comes to that part of the agenda where we're looking at the minutes, if someone proposes an amendment, that is in the minutes, and usually it's put in the minutes. Minutes were approved subject to this amendment, and it's usually stated.
So
And
with the detailed wording of the amendment will be included in
The final.
the final
Yes.
version.
Yes,
I
yes.
suppose what you're flagging up here, the weakness
Is
is that what you don't then get back is the final version.
Yeah.
Although, you don't. So if you go to the next meeting and somebody
Yes.
says, I'm really happy with these, except for could you change X?
Yes,
That will then happen.
yes,
But then the group
yes.
won't then get back the
Yeah.
revised.
Yeah.
They would have to go and look on the website.
On
if
the
they were
website.
wrong.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
But then it's too late.
yeah.
Exactly. That's precisely my point. I'm sorry, we have a history
Okay.
of this not being done properly.
Okay.
Please, no reflection.
No,
Please,
no.
very seriously, no reflection.
I mean, the fact is at the moment capacity, and
Yes.
I feel like a broken record.
Yeah.
But
In an ideal world,
In an
you
ideal
then
world.
send it out again and say, this is what
Exactly.
has been
exactly.
baselined as the final
Exactly.
version.
But the signed minutes should go on the website, and then they should be as a paper copy
Yeah.
in a file in the office, which any councillor can come and, or any resident or anyone in the community for that matter, can come to the office and say, town clerk or whoever's in the office, I'd like to come and see the minute book for whichever year it is you want to look at.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's the chair's job to make it clear if an amendment is proposed to the minutes, exactly what that wording is. Then he can, or she can ask the councillor concerned to say, you have to give us some text,
Yeah.
rather than just raising a general issue and you know, say, no, we'll take that amendment. I think that's you know what the chair is there for.
I agree, and it's also up to us as councillors to make sure we know exactly what minutes we were approving. So if an amendment is proposed, if someone says I want the minutes altered, we must make sure we all know exactly what it is.
So it's incumbent upon us to say, Fred, exactly what are you saying?
Yeah.
Would you say, if we're not clear, would you say to the chair, please, will you tell us exactly the wording which is going to go into the
yeah, that's
final
exactly how do we
minutes?
want to articulate it.
I think we need to articulate it in the notes, and I think at some stage I'm going to have to try to pull all of the questions together and say two things. We've got here the standing orders and second set of questions. Can I ask, in the normal course of events, assuming that all of this is, the amendments are done properly,
Yes.
when are they signed by the chair?
So they should be, if there is, you know, an amendment that obviously needs to be incorporated in those draft minutes, you should go away from the meeting, when you're drafting the minutes of that meeting, you amend those minutes, and then the chair or mayor would sign them when they next come to the office. So they are the ones that sign the minutes.
So they're not signed on the day unless there are no amendments?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
If there's no amendments, they can be signed on the day, but if there are amendments, obviously they need
That's useful to
So
understand.
in terms of what do we want to, because what I've got is when an amendment is made to the minutes presented for approval,
Yeah.
what are we expecting to happen?
We need to know the exact wording of the amendment.
But sometimes that, so in practical sense, it might be that if a town clerk, for example, is handling the approval of those minutes, may take it away and do some words. Equally, a councillor who's raised it might be asked to do the words. So how do we want to phrase, because that's very nebulous, Ian.
I understand.
What's the process?
I think it should be the councillor that wants the amendment should be stating exactly the wording of that
But
amendment.
will they be able to do that at the meeting, I think, the question.
Yes.
You're not convinced they'll be able to do that at the meeting? Because if it's a complex,
I don't understand why. Why would they investigate?
Well, all I'm saying is so I've seen we've been to some meetings where I've had probably half a dozen issues with previous meeting minutes. To have 16 people around a table wait whilst I wordsmith six answers to what I would like to see, and then get the agreement. I don't want to consume time that isn't best spent on
But
me.
they shouldn't raise them at the meeting. They should raise it before.
I agree with
When
you.
you-
It
when you
doesn't-
get
yeah,
to, when you
that would
get
be
the
ideal.
minutes,
Would be
you have the
ideal.
draft minutes to say, if you think there's anything wrong with that minute, you should tell the
Yes.
clerk
in that
And
case, we need to
immediately.
note that as well.
Yeah.
so that you can go to the meeting and say,
Yes.
you've had the following amendments requested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can actually, if necessary,
Do
you
some
can
wording beforehand.
produce the wording.
Yeah.
Propose a
The
word.
councillor should not
Yeah.
leave it to the,
Yeah.
to the meeting and say,
Yeah.
oh, I don't agree with minute
Yeah.
something.
So, sorry, Nick. When I said, I personally am not sitting in the meeting and thinking I'm not happy with this. What I am doing is I'm doing a review before the meeting, and I'm coming up actually with why I want to object.
Okay.
But some
Can I just
do stand up in the meeting
I'm sure they do.
and come in with
Well,
all sorts of.
Yeah.
I think we need to, the chair needs to keep a clear distinction between amendments to the minutes themselves and matters arising.
Yes.
Because I have known, since I came here, certain councillors stand up and make a long speech in relation to the minutes, and it's often not clear whether they're actually asking
Exactly.
to change the minutes
Yeah.
or whether it's
Introducing something
points
different.
arising.
They're
Yeah.
just,
Well, could you-
they're just grandstand.
right, I think what I think we're saying is that ideally, if councillors have an objection to something in the minutes, they should notify
Yeah, the town clerk.
the clerk and the chair,
The chair.
the clerk and the chair in advance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then it can be raised at the meeting,
Yes.
and ideally should have the final wording at the meeting
Yeah.
for approval by the rest of the council.
Exactly.
If you could
Yeah.
do some wording on that.
Thank you.
All right. Right. Patent, out of my system just now.
And just to add that obviously minutes are not verbatim, so I
No.
think sometimes people
Mm.
do think that every comment that's been made at a meeting should be
Should be.
recorded.
Yeah. Particularly if it was their comments.
Yes, exactly. So I think that's also got to be made clear.
You mean you don't want to record the rude comments when it's not a load of tosh and oh dear me. Oh, what a shame. What a shame. Right. Okay, coming back to the questions again.
Yes.
We've actually used up a little bit less than an hour, folks, because we started a little bit late. But I think this is very valuable. We have to carry on this way.
Yeah.
Okay. Jill, it's extremely helpful for you to come to us. Right. We've talked about tracking amendments and document control. So the system that we're suggesting really is that the amendments get incorporated into the minutes, and then the chair of the meeting signs them to that effect.
Yeah.
And that people will have access to those minutes in the, initially it's going to be, it will be an online archive for in the short term, but in the long term, until our capacity increases, it'll be a printed archive.
But still, you've still got a printed archive in any case.
I have.
You
I
have-
have.
you have-
You have to have
That
that.
is by law.
I'm
Yeah.
just trying to think of the practicalities and
Yeah.
you know the way that
Yeah.
not many people are going to schlep down here to ask for. Right. What about the document overview? Let's come back to that because we got slightly off the track. What are your views about the document overview that Councillor Breen did? And is this a sensible approach? What we've tried to do is basically say, this is the structure, and then people can hang other things on it if they want. For example, the detail of the Heritage and Townscape Committee, exactly what does it want to cover and so on, and hang things on it. It means that also that when you want to amend one thing of a particular committee, you don't have to rewrite the whole lot. You just have to go to that committee's papers. Is that an approach that you would welcome?
I think terms of reference should be all the committees are one document as the terms of reference. The standing orders are another document. And I think that the danger is if you start thinking that you've got an overview that is trying to incorporate everything, I think it's really clear and best practice to have the standing orders, the terms of reference and the financial regulations. These are all separate documents.
They're the three critical ones.
They are the three critical ones, the governance of the council. And I think with terms of reference, when you talk about generic terms of reference, again, sometimes that is not very helpful and practical because, yourselves, you've realised when you're setting up a working group, you want there to be specific terms of reference because you want to have a clear view on what you're trying to achieve, your objectives, and I think that you get too many generic documents, and you're just going to make more work because you do need specific terms of reference as well as generic terms of reference. It's almost making more work.
Right. So we have some generic terms of reference, and it may be that the permanent committees are clearly in those generic terms of reference.
Yes.
Permanent committee, because we've got 3 at the moment, haven't we? 4? Well, we want 4. we want a human resources one as well.
I agree absolutely with what you're saying. The standing orders is one standalone document. That's it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the terms of reference and schedule of delegation,
Yes.
which are in one document,
Yes.
is very important, where
It
it
is.
tells you what powers are delegated to
Yes.
committees, what the council,
Yes.
what powers are reserved to the council,
Yes.
and the terms of reference of all committees. I think that is important. Should be one document. The financial regulations is another document. But I also agree that currently we do have a generic terms of reference for working groups. I don't think that's going to work. I think
We've struggled with this
working
group.
groups should establish their own terms of reference.
Yes.
I think so.
Or the council should approve them.
Exactly.
Right? But the
Yes.
working group should come up with their own terms of
It should be
reference,
bottom up.
which they then should
Yeah.
put to the council.
And there'll be some generic things possibly, but I
Yes.
mean each one has to do it.
Yeah.
Except that means that you establish a working group without knowing what the terms of reference are going to be.
Well, you-
The council would have to decide what the key reference would be. The terms of reference could be much more detailed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If we look at the
You can take the generic one, or all of them.
Yeah, what would tend to happen is you'd go to the town council meeting, you'd say, this is the issue that we need to look at, these are the sort of subject matter areas we want to investigate, and our proposal is that we set up a working group. That would then be approved, working group goes off and then says in detail, this is what our time.
The classic is the forecourt or whatever we call it out there, where you've got a broad thing, but there's much more detail which has to be
and you
referred
can't do that at town council level.
No, okay. All right. So again, Mr. Minute Taker, sir, could you please note this? Because I can't. It doesn't quite go on fit on here.
The problem is when you start getting involved in a conversation, you forget what you're taking the minutes. So what
Well,
did we just
what a
agree
struggle. I've been doing that for 4 weeks.
So we've agreed.
We've agreed that there are the 3 key documents are the standing orders, the schedule of delegations, I think,
Yeah, terms of reference.
Terms of reference.
Scheduled delegation and terms of reference.
and the financial regs.
Yeah.
Then specifically for working parties, we've recommended that there is a very, very broad frame, but the detail of that has to be established by the working party at their first meeting.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. Is that
And approved by
and
council.
approved by council.
Or can they be approved by the committee who set up
We should be
working group?
Yes.
Approved by the committee, because working groups are set up.
Committee who set
We-
up.
Exactly.
We're different because we're set up by the council.
Yes,
Yes.
that's
Yes.
right.
Yes.
Yeah.
The IT reports into the F and
G.
F and GP,
Yeah.
right, so, okay, so it depends whether it's a subset of a committee or a subset of the council.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ian, I'm just slightly distracted because my eyes got drawn to the wording on there. Not that I wasn't listening to you, but I wasn't listening to you well enough. We still have a contradiction in the wording there about when somebody wants to bring a member of public to a meeting. At the moment, the wording suggests it can either there's a conflict.
Which
So
clause?
5.1.3a.
Yes.
So, what are we saying?
Request.
Do they need to come by email by the close of business on the previous working day, or ahead of the published start time of the meeting? Those are contradictory.
The reason they're contradictory is that we would like the council to make a decision on it. But personally, I would have thought you'd want it ahead of the published start time of the
And that's
meeting.
where I would like to go. I'd like to say that as long as we have somebody makes themselves, declares they're wanting to speak ahead of the start of the meeting.
I think you just do away with it, do away with the request, because I think we've had this conversation
Yes,
earlier.
I don't want to. Yes, I don't want. I don't want to make a request.
No.
We just need to
Yeah.
turn up and declare that they'd like to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, if you're going down that route, I suggest a numbering system, which we've got, because otherwise you could have,
Yeah.
you know, 10 people turn up, which we regularly have,
Yeah.
and you know, 6 of them say, well, I'm here to speak, and nobody knows
Yeah.
which order they arrived in. So you do have to have this first
You
come,
have to
first
be
served.
first come, first
You do.
served.
So, and what are we saying?
I thought we agreed this.
You've,
The wording wasn't changed.
Oh, right,
unfortunately.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so we're saying it's first come, first served. They turn up at the meeting, but you've got a limit of 4 people.
Yeah.
That's what we've said.
Sorry, I just so I understand. How do you know if some of the people want to speak on the same topic? If so,
What are you going to do about it? Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's about it. Go ahead.
The wording, I think, is it's ahead of the published start time of the meeting.
Which can be admitted.
Request
before
be made
the
to the
second
clerk.
round.
Be made before, or somebody can contact us
Okay,
before.
so it should be a request being made to the clerk of that meeting to speak, including the subject of the question or statement being made, which may be via email. And we'll just take ahead of the published start time of the meeting.
To leave that in, yes.
Yes.
And take all the rest of that out. Yes?
But there is the issue about
Yeah.
how everybody gets to speak if there's too many.
Yes, and I think I'm not comfortable with you saying ahead of the. Oh, sorry, were you saying the published date? The published.
Published start.
Start time.
Start.
Yes. So that isn't really going to work because I'm not sat at my laptop at 1 minute to 7. So I think that's what I'm saying. I think you need to do away with, if you're going down this route of anyone can come.
Yeah, sorry,
anyone
Ian,
can
you're
speak
interpreting
as-
it differently from me. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
the start time of the meeting.
Yes.
Yes, I know what you mean by published now.
Yes.
when it's
Yeah.
published.
Yes. Yes. This is.
Sorry, this is all very semantic.
So I think if you're going down the route, you don't want people to have to give prior notice. You don't need them to tell you the subject. You do away with anything that says anything about prior notice. You make it very clear. You come to the meeting. You have a right to speak.
Yes.
There will be a slot for X amount of minutes.
Right.
This number of residents. Therefore, it will be first come first served basis is the only fair way to do it.
Well, exactly.
Because you otherwise you're going to have maybe potentially 10 people sat here, and all of them may say, well, I was here and I want to speak, and you've got no way of knowing who was physically first in the room unless you give them a number.
Well, exactly. Which is why I think they have to tell the chair of the clock before the chair actually opens the meeting. So if the chair has already opened the meeting and somebody says, I want to speak.
Yeah, I agree.
Well,
No,
this is
they have to tell the clerk or the chair before the meeting starts.
ahead of the start.
Is that what happens
Does
at
that help?
Westgate?
Yeah.
Is that
So basically, there's the numbers at the door.
Yes.
So as people come through the door, I stand at the door and say, would you like to speak this evening? And say, yes, please, I would. Thank you very much. You're number one. There are people that come in who don't want to speak and they don't get a number. So, but it's a very fair way
Yeah.
of ensuring that people that do come have the opportunity if they want to, rather than you
Yeah,
sit there
I
and
think that's very fair.
yeah.
But can I say, if we do that, we've got to alter what in my version is 514. It says, where it is apparent that multiple individuals wish to speak on the same subject, well, how can it become apparent
It won't.
if we don't ask them what they want to speak about?
You
So
won't-
that clause has got to come out.
yes.
And the risk is you get two people speaking on the same
Yeah.
topic.
That's
Let them, if they want to speak,
that's
let them speak.
Although,
that's
you-
democracy.
sorry, and now yes, but we're getting more into the detail of that, Nick, because at the right at the start it says they need to come to speak to about a subject that's relevant to the business of the council.
That's true.
Again, if they don't tell us what we're going to talk about, you won't know that.
Mm.
Right.
How's the chair getting on?
I'm just carrying on regardless.
It feels to me, keep it simple, as Jill says, you come through the door,
Mm.
but as part of the giving them you do ask them, well, what do you want to talk about?
Right.
And then you can sift out if there's
Right.
duplication, also you can sift out some of the thing I want to talk about, what was on telly last night.
Okay, well what I've put in is if we look at the bottom of 513, I've said and I need to get the wording right, we need to allocate a number to each speaker up to 4 persons.
Yeah.
Which covers your point about will be too long.
Yeah.
We're allowing up to 5. And I think we've said they need to tell you before the start of the meeting, but we haven't specified how far before the start of the meeting. And you just have to pragmatically say, okay, who else wants to speak on this subject at the start, just before the start of the meeting? I don't see any other way of doing it, unless you revert back to the much more formal system. And is that the only alternative, that you find 20 people have sent a request in and you say, well, I mean, you can think about some of the planning things that have come up, you've got a whole raft of
So
people
could I
standing up.
So Jill, would you be content to take an action just to take that 5.13 away and look at it from your
Yes.
perspective?
Mm.
Yes.
Because I think keep it really simple. It's about,
Yes.
it's nothing beforehand. It's
No.
about people turn up
Yeah.
to the meeting, let
Yeah.
themselves know, make it know what the subject is, and then they get managed in or out.
With a numbering system.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, if the system works in Westgate, what's the actual wording in the Westgate
Yes.
standing orders on it?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That
Yeah.
might be the simplest, quickest
Well,
solution.
can you send them to me, because at the moment I'm the key.
But I think keep it simple again. I don't think we should. We say here it won't exceed 20 minutes, except at the discretion of the chair of the meeting.
Yeah.
There could be a meeting where there's such overwhelming public disquiet But the chair might say, all right, we're going to
Yes.
we're going to devote the rest of the meeting to this issue, and allow the public to speak. So
Yes.
I don't think you can say only 4 people.
Well, again, is this normal, isn't it?
Yes.
It's
But I think let's
let's see what,
Okay.
Westgate say.
and then if you
Keep
can,
it simple.
Yeah.
We can
Well, we've overbaked this
we
one
tend
as
to
well.
overcomplicate these things.
I thought we may finish. I want to go home, please. I do not want to spend the rest of the afternoon doing this, which we'll have to anyway. Right. Have we? I'm going to start closing this particular topic down. As I understand it, and let me try to summarise where I think we are. We've said that they must tell you in advance of the meeting, but we haven't specified how far in advance. We want them to give us a written copy if they can. We certainly need to know the subject matter, which will then start ringing alarm bells that we may need to use some grouping of people. Normally, they will allow up to 4 persons to speak, but it's at the discretion of the chair.
I think that's what you proposed, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they don't have to speak for 5 minutes, so if
Yes,
there's more
exactly.
time left,
Oh, no.
the chair might decide to let.
Yes.
And say, okay, all right, so we need to do that. And you're going to send me the Westgate things, and I'll
Yes.
try to incorporate them
Yes,
in here.
yes.
Going,
Agreed.
going,
Yeah.
Agreed.
gone.
Well done, thank you.
Next.
Is there anything there? Yes, there is. What else have you got for us, Jill?
I think then moving on to back to the questions. So yes, that was the public participation which we just covered. Okay.
Yes.
So the question in STC and DDC. Do you know when the present arrangements were agreed? And no, I don't is the answer to that.
Would you be able to tell us? I remember we're not allowed to question DDC or KCC.
KCC.
Yeah,
Representatives.
So, is it not a moot point whenever it was agreed? Is it not a sense of what we'll do is revisiting standing orders and make proposals around changes? One of the changes we want to make is that actually there is opportunity to question.
Yes, I mean, I think it's essential, because the daft thing was, we didn't question the DDC and the KCC person, but we spent a lot of time talking to Stagecoach,
Yeah.
and it was a very useful two-way discussion, I thought.
Yeah.
So it's crackers. Is this a diplomatic term, crackers? I could use a Glaswegian phrase, or even an Aberdonian phrase, but the Sassenachs might not understand it.
Please, where is that? No, I agree. It's a particular,
Right.
potentially, a case where DDC and KCC have conflicting interests.
Right.
Well,
It really probably comes under conduct of meetings and debates, section 6. Section 6, I think. Somewhere in section 6, yes?
I was going to say the practicalities of this. Obviously, you need the agreement of those councillors, which, you know, I think that's a conversation. Whether or not you want to actually put something in the sound laws before you have the conversation might not be such a great idea, is my opinion.
Well, I would suggest that we put it in here, as the council's got to decide if it wants
Yes.
to do it in the first place.
Yes.
And that's the next stage is then to notify groups like this that this is our proposal, and then take their view. Although how a representative of a higher level authority can say you can't ask me any questions does seem a little bit bizarre. Is that a polite word? Bizarre. Yes. Sorry.
is it feasible, do you think, to ask them to supply a report in writing?
Good point.
So
Good point.
they wouldn't have to spend up to 5 minutes.
We don't give them time to
necessarily talking.
Uh-huh.
But we could use the time to to ask some questions about a report which we would have already seen.
Very good point.
In advance.
I mean, sometimes we have had reports in writing and sometimes not. I find it very helpful. I mean, I know Dan Friend tries to get stuff out in writing, sometimes he misses the deadline.
Well, are you content to leave me to try to draft something up later on today? I've got it under section 6. DDC and KCC, can we ask questions and ask for a written report in advance, if possible? That's the flavour, is it?
Yes.
Should it be limited to what we've heard? So, for example, if you have a DDC councillor or a KCC councillor who talks about whatever they want to talk about, which is their right, and then at the end of it, you then fire a completely unrelated question. Is that what we're saying can happen? I'm not going to give an opinion on that. I'm just saying, is that what we might allow?
Well, there's only two kinds of questions, aren't there? There's the question related to something that someone said for amplification, which I don't think anyone can say is not legitimate.
No, agree.
The second one seems to be if they have deliberately or erroneously not referred to something that has a particular interest. Those are the two issues. The first one I can't see any problem. The second one, okay. Christina, you wanted to say something?
Yes, I just wanted to give an example, and if we think back to late last year, when the Sandwich Connect service was withdrawn, that had been subsidised by KCC, and we had a representative come and speak to the council. I think the day before, the drivers actually told the public that the service was being withdrawn sort of within the next week. And so there would have been an opportunity perhaps to discuss it, maybe talk about what other options might be possible, but no discussion took place whatsoever, and the service just ended.
So I need to think of some words, which is, yeah. I mean, again, we've got a legacy problem, haven't we? So I think there's two types of questions. There's the supplementary question and a new relevant topic, whatever relevant means. So it's something that's not under KCC's control, like how Parliament is run. No, but if it is something under KCC's control, such as there seems to be an interesting approach to how late you can submit documents. Just to choose a current example. Last night, in other words. Okay, so I need to try to do some wording on that.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
Right, thank you. Right, but if it were possible to try, I suspect it's not. I suspect it was never documented. This whole thing about not questioning STC and DDC.
Yeah, and I don't think it will add value if you trawl back to try and find out when it was agreed. We want to change it.
Yes. Okay, so we say conduct meetings, debates, in this space specifically in here somewhere. I'll need to find the right place to put it. Something about. Okay. Right. Okay.
Okay, so I think that was the end of your questions. I did have a couple of comments looking through. So 3.1.6, where you talk about structure of the council, and you're talking about councillors other than committee members may attend meetings of each committee, may participate in discussions, but may not vote. Practically, that is something that will make your committee meetings much longer than they should be. And my answer to that would be, why is that person not on that committee? If they want to attend the committee meetings and participate in debates, why are they not part of that committee? And bearing in mind there are 16 councillors here, you know, the committee memberships, you know, it's for you to determine how big those committee memberships. But also, you are in danger then of the committees, because basically what the council is saying, the committee memberships agreed. We trust that committee to do that work for the council and then report back to council. Or if they have delegated authority, they are taking decisions. If you have other councillors who are not part of that committee on the council that are going to these committee meetings and joining in the debates, then why are they not part of the committee? Because to me, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, I can give you a specific illustration about that. We were asked about committee membership.
Mm-hmm.
In at least one case of one person in this room, that was completely ignored.
Okay.
And that's why there has to be a right to do this.
Okay.
And until the selection of committees is a much clearer, much more transparent thing,
Mm-hmm.
I would be very, very insistent that this is retained.
Okay.
I was specifically invited to attend a meeting of the Heritage and Townscape Committee, which I participated on one particular area of interest.
Yeah, but you wouldn't unless you go to the next
And
one.
I don't want to be on the committee
No.
because I've got too much else to do with it.
Yeah.
But I do feel I should, if a committee wants to hear from other councillors, they should be entitled to do that.
Mm. Okay.
Maybe it's the wording may participate in discussions, which is concerning you. But I think councillors who are not committee members must be allowed to attend committee meetings and listen to, at the very least, listen to.
Yes.
Oh yes, no, I'm not suggesting that you don't attend, but it's this being
It's
participating in
discussions.
discussions. I think, you know, if it's felt that your expertise is valued on that committee, why would you not be part of the committee is my argument really.
That's a question that has not been answered.
I think also there are other cases that I've known in the past where, for instance, a member, particularly a chair of one committee, who needs to work in cooperation on subjects being also dealt with by another committee, needs to go along, hear what's said, and take that back to their own committee. I mean, I do understand what Jill is saying, but I also, I think to exclude it.
So there's possibly, so just a suggestion, two ways you do it. You remove that, may not participate. Alternatively, you could say may participate in discussions at the request of the chair. So that's the other way, because that would accommodate Nick turning up for his particular subject.
I'm very unhappy about that.
I know, Ian. That is your personal experience, which is not discounted at all. What should have been addressed is in the selection of who was on that committee is the point at which you should have been entitled to join that committee.
And I raised it in writing and at the meeting.
Yeah.
And it was
That's where it failed, not in terms
Sorry,
of...
you do that, there are consequences.
Yeah.
And the council has got to realise there are consequences of their actions. And I am adamant about this.
I do feel that this is certainly an area that needs a complete overhaul, with membership of, right through committees and working groups. Because, just to arrive at a council meeting and say, oh, so-and-so will do it.
Yes, and predetermined lists of people. And
Exactly.
Exactly.
Right way.
It is completely the right. But at the moment we're stuck with the committees we've got at the moment. And the membership of those committees. Sorry.
So my question is, which committee is it that you'd like to?
I'd rather not discuss that in open public.
Okay. And so I mean, you are.
You got my letter. It tells you exactly which ones.
I can't recall now.
Right. Let's look at the notes.
But basically, the issue is that there are 16 councillors on this council. If everybody, if they see this, everybody's entitled to come to any committee meeting, and so you could end up, you don't need committees in that case, you just have lots more council meetings, because all 16 of you are entitled to be at that committee meeting and included in that debate.
So on your particular subject,
yes,
do you think it's not a closed discussion?
It certainly has not even been properly started, the discussion.
So is there not an offline
Yes.
Because I think you should be, if you've got a committee,
Yes.
so in my opinion, if you've got a committee that you are particularly passionate about
Yes.
being on,
Yes.
I don't see why you would preclude
No.
it because you're a councillor.
Absolutely, and really what you should do is put that forward to whoever's chairing that committee,
Yeah.
make your feelings known if you want to join, and then that could be an agenda item on the council for you to join that committee.
I am
Satisfying you.
I'm not satisfied.
No.
At the moment, I'm not satisfied.
Okay.
I think Martin's point about the way the committees have been selected needs a thorough revision. And until that's
Can I
done,
ask Jill, does the NALC model code address this point?
The now,
The NALC model
terms of-
code don't address this point
no,
about it doesn't. I was trying to see if it did, but I can't, I just wonder whether it did. Well, I thought it did somewhere too, because I mean, it's always been a practice of this council that non-committee council and non-committee members can attend committee meetings.
yes.
It's always been the practice.
Yes, absolutely, and that's what happens in Westgate-on-Sea. So other councillors can attend, other committee members, even if they're not on the committee membership.
Right.
But what they don't do, they do not participate in any debates or,
Yeah.
you know. So basically, you know, they'll be sat like
Yeah.
councillors do when they come to a committee. They're not part of the committee. They don't sit at this table. They sit behind. There isn't at Westgate-on-Sea any councillors that come along unless there is a resident. That's different. If you come along as a resident in the public participation section, you have a right to speak
yes.
as a resident.
Right.
But it isn't normal practice at Westgate for councillors to come and watch committee meetings and participate in debates. That just doesn't happen. And I say the reasons are because the council have agreed that membership of that committee. They are saying to those councillors, we trust you, these are the terms of reference, these are the So if you have 16 councillors that all say to me, I want to come on to Heritage and Townscape, I want to be involved in the debate. So that's what I'm saying. You have
Can I just rewind that a little bit? We said, you know, in theory we could have large numbers of people turning up for public participation. We discounted that as not really very likely. I think similarly to say the fear that 16 councils will turn up to each committee and totally disrupt it. I think that's equally improbable.
Okay.
And I think we are building up on something that there's a serious error that needs to be amended, but there is the serious question about the way we set up committee membership in the very first place. And maybe that needs to be incorporated in here, because it was not done.
Okay.
I mean, I think some of the difficulties are caused because, well, particularly in an election year, the annual meeting of the council comes, you know,
Oh
like
yes, and we have to
like
do
a cold
that.
shower, right? It takes us all a little bit, you know, we haven't got time to get everything ready, and there's so much that we are required to do in that meeting. But the problem is it's all in the legislation, so we can't change it.
It is, and this is the problem. First, the town annual meeting has to decide many of these things. I really don't think that the likelihood of 16 people turning up is actually extremely low, if not infinitesimally low. But I think at the moment, unless you folks decide to delete it, I would strongly recommend that you keep it in, because things have not been done as well as they could have been done. Next year's a different year, of course, but I think by that we should also take account of Martin's point that the way we select people for committees and the way they're able to put themselves forward does need a good look at.
I was just thinking that there is both the finance and general purpose and the heritage and townscape have quite broad scope, and there may be councillors that have a very intense interest in a particular area, but it wouldn't really be a good use of their time or their commitment to be a member of the committee through all the meetings, but they might only really be of real value to attend the meetings where that particular subject is on the agenda. And this would at least allow it, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think this is the concern is this, as I appreciate it.
That's all right.
Martin.
Yes, I mean, it's exactly this, whether participate in discussions at the invitation of the chair, whether we would want to put that in, or leave it as it is. For me, that's, you know, in practical terms, that's the crucial issue, is whether you want the committee to control other councils.
The problem we have, if it's at the discretion of the chair, is again, we go back to the old regime of deliberately excluding people because the chair didn't want them to raise a relevant point. And we saw plenty of that in the past. And that is something, again, I'm sorry, we've got a legacy.
Yeah, that is important.
Yeah.
So that, you know,
Yeah.
there is a
Okay.
legacy of
Okay.
these things.
Maybe in 2-3 years' time with a different, you know, a different ethos.
Okay.
Then yes.
Okay.
It's at the end of the chair.
Personally, I don't see a problem with this.
Okay.
In practice, there's one particular councillor who tends to attend most committee meetings and sits in the back very quietly. But I can't see a problem with it. It always happens here.
Okay.
And
Okay.
Okay.
Moving on. Next one, you had two. You said you had one point. I'm sorry. Are you all right for time?
No, sorry, I have got to go because I just realised
Yes.
it's 12 o'clock.
Okay.
So, yes, but there were a couple of other points.
Are they major points? And could you perhaps drop them to me?
I will.
I mean, if they're really major,
Yeah.
we ought to hear them,
Yes.
obviously.
Yes.
If they're minor, and what I suggest I do is I'll try to work on this afternoon.
Yes.
The critical thing is the notes have to be ready by tomorrow, 12 o'clock at the latest. But this I'll work on and I'll circulate it to the councillors here
Yes.
and to yourself.
Yes.
And we have a sensible debate about this.
Yes. No, that's good. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
you're busy after this, are you?
Yes, sorry, I've got another meeting now.
Okay.
But yes, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jim.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Should we draw a line there just to arrange next meeting?
Are we going to get much further? Because the concerns I've got now is that we have, looking at dates, first of all, next meeting is going to be a bit disruptive because I'm
Away?
No, I'm not away, but I'm waiting for a call from the health centre, and it could be at any time in the morning
On that day?
on that day. And I tried to move it, but otherwise said, oh yeah, you can wait till August, to which I said thank you for payment. But I could just step outside.
I'm away next.
You're away, and but the critical issue we've got a reasonable signal, so that's okay,
Yeah.
is that really the council meeting is on the 31st, isn't
Yes,
it?
it is.
Jill would probably want to issue the documents on the 26th, if not the 25th.
Yep.
Which really says that we have one further meeting that we can have a continued discussion, but then on the week commencing the 17th,
Yeah.
we really have to pull
Yeah.
together what we've got, agree what we have and what we haven't got. And in addition, we ought to say we want to raise the following items with the council.
Yep.
Going back through all of the minutes that we've had and things like, and some of these things are purely for discussion, not for the standing orders.
Yeah. Yeah.
What have we still got to do? We still have to do the financial regulations, or are they set in stone, Nick? Do you know?
They are, is that in our remit to look at the financial regulations as well as the standing orders? I thought we were just looking at
Standing orders.
We're just looking at standing
standing
orders.
orders.
And then what about this thing
And
about?
then there's the schedule of delegations
Schedule of
on the
de-
reference will
the-
need to be amended to
So-
so that it accords, doesn't conflict with what's in
Yeah.
our standing orders.
So do we want to look at the schedule of standing orders next week?
schedule
So that
delegations.
I
So,
wouldn't-
delegations.
I wouldn't know.
No,
I think we should concentrate on the standing orders.
Getting them as good
So
shape
we
as we
can
can.
present
Right.
them to
Yeah.
So,
the council, and and obviously we will then have to look at the terms of
That will be the next
reference
phase of
for
work.
the next.
I'm making a recommendation that we, are we saying that, because I think this group has worked pretty well,
Yes, I think we
that
have.
we make a recommendation that we
Yeah.
continue on.
We'll be asked now to deal with reviewing
Reflecting the
terms of
change.
reference schedules,
Should-
the financial
The
regulations,
financial rates.
reflecting what's in our
Yeah.
new.
And again, also in Peter's document map
Yes.
approach.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, well, in that case, I think that probably the best thing to do now is finish at this point,
Mhm.
Yes.
and then try to concentrate at the on the 13th with making sure, are we happy with everything we've got here?
Yeah.
We're happy with, and also we're happy with any notes that we've got or suggestions to make to the council. Yes, because we've got quite a number of things we want to draw their attention to, and also at present I think there's a whole plethora of documents of varying authenticity that they work from. I try and be polite here. Because this is, we're saying here's one document, this should eliminate all of these other ones, but we must assume that we will have a debate about this,
Yeah.
and that there will be some people will be very happy, and some people will be less happy.
Mm. Yep.
This is not going to be a quick, easy fix. It's not going to be just rubber stamp, here we are lads, on we go.
I agree.
So we need to
If
prepare.
you could get us a revised copy as far as we've got,
Yes.
with all the
Version
stuff
7.
in it today.
Version, I don't think I
Version
can
seven.
necessarily do it today.
No, I'm not saying today.
No, but I hope to get it done by tomorrow,
Oh, okay.
because I don't want to spend my weekend doing it.
I will look at that, and
Yeah.
I won't be here next week.
No,
But let you have my input
Yeah, good idea. Yeah.
before
Thank
the
you.
meeting.
I'm a bit worried about Jill's 2 points that we haven't heard.
well, I've asked it, what I'll do is as soon as I get them, I'll
Yeah.
circulate them to you.
Yeah.
If you could do that.
Okay.
That's
That's all we can do.
Yeah.
I think
That's what we
we've
can do,
had,
yeah.
I think we've had
Yes.
pretty thorough discussions. It's been very helpful to have Jill
You've
here.
had, it's been very helpful.
And I think that's the way we need to approach it.
Yeah, and it's essential that she's happy with them, because
Yeah.
she's going to have to operate them.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Thank you, Ian.
Okay.
Okay, thank you folks. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Christine.
Same time next week?
Probably.
Yes.
Yes, but after that I'd like to change the times
Okay.
because I'm missing out on a key physical and social activity.
Let's close the meeting.